film called Until Dawn just released in theaters, and for those of you who have not played the games, this movie is based on a game. And so game is essentially choose your own adventure. And so I was very curious on how they would put that all together into a film where there is no defining ending to the game. There is multiple different ones. However, this one seemed to be a different story, which brought a lot of the fans on the internet angry, like myself. But let me tell you my thoughts on the film as a whole. So, like I said, this movie is based off a video game called Until Dawn. I know, shocking, but it is called Until Dawn. And I actually, for a frame of reference for you guys, I actually got to play the game, so I played through all of the stories. I played through it multiple times to get different endings, and I liked the exploration aspect of the games where you could just if you wanted to kill a character off, you could make a dumb decision and they'd be gone. But there's other aspects of the game where you want everyone to survive because the characters are so compelling. And so I played that game and I really loved it. And again, I've played it multiple times since then. And then they also came out with another game called The Quarry, which is basically a soft sequel taking place at a summer camp. And so I thought this would be really, really fun. I played that one. Love the game as well, and I played through that one a couple different times as well. And so when Sony announced they were doing a movie of Until Dawn, I immediately got very skeptical and again very angry, because if you go down the route with doing the same story as the games, you are giving the audience a defined ending to the game. There hasn't been one so far, so I feel like the experience as you play the games right now, you'll have a lot more fun with it because the ending switches every time you play it. But once you give the audience a defined ending, it doesn't seem as personal anymore, at least in my opinion. And so when they announced this one, I thought, oh no, well, they're gonna do the games in live action, which again, I love, and honestly, I'm a sucker. If they ended up doing that, I would buy tickets to it because I love the story and the games. But I just thought, oh no, if they go down this route, then I feel like that's taking something away from me or the other people that have played this game. And so there's a lot of fun things. When they said they announced this movie, I thought, man, we're gonna get a cool story that just gives a defining ending. But it was also frustrating for me that we're gonna get a defined ending for the game. Or they could have gone a different route and made their own story. And that's what they did. Essentially, this movie is a prequel to the Until Dawn game. And so let me tell you my thoughts on the good or the bad. Is this worth watching in theaters? Or can you just skip this one and just keep playing the games and not even worry about this film? So without further ado, let's get into the good. All right, so starting with the good, I would say that the best thing about this film is that it's its own original story. Now, is the story done well? We'll get into that later, but I think that there is some risk being taken here, and I liked how they did their own thing. Now, again, it's its own story, so we do follow different characters than we did in the original game. And so, for example, the main person that we're following is a girl named Clover. She's about 20 years old, and she has a group of friends, and her sister went mysteriously missing in this town. So their friends take her on a journey to go find her sister and see if they can get any trails on where her sister went or where she disappeared. They eventually get clues that puts them into a real old townhouse, and they find out that their sister has been there. And so when they start finding out these clues, they sign the registration book, and then weird things start happening in this townhouse, and bodies start flying everywhere.
I can't take it. No, please, no!
And so that's where this whole story just kind of takes place. They are trying to find the sister again, and it's Clover and her friends in this townhouse. And so I think there was some real good intrigue in this movie to where they're building up their own original story. And when the bodies start flying everywhere, there are so many cool death scenes. I don't think there was anything hugely original, but I had fun with it. There's at one point where a guy gets stabbed and his eyeball comes out onto a piece of wood. That was pretty sickening. But there's other scenes in there that delve from other aspects of horror in their franchises. Like, so there's like witches in this one, there's slashers, which are my personal favorite, and there's just so much more, like different styles of kills, so many different monsters, that I actually had fun with this. I thought this movie, of course, was just entertaining because I always like these murder slasher stories that take place and have like weird timelines. Those are just my types of films, and so when I walked out enjoying the film, and I had a lot of fun. This is probably one that I would rewatch on often for me. However, as a movie itself, I was kind of disappointed, and there's not much mixed aspects here. Most of it will be negative, and so with that, let's just get on to the bad. All right, so starting with the bad, there was a lot of characters that just felt one-dimensional. If you guys have played the games, you know very well that the characters in the games have like built-out storylines. You can choose to kill them off or like learn more about them, and I really enjoyed getting to know all those characters, and they all had different personalities, whereas all of these characters in this film just feel one-dimensional. For example, in this film, they have a lot of people that just have different personalities, but there's just one defining trait. So like one of them flat out says, I'm a psychology major, and this is not okay that we're going through all this pain. Like, yeah, it's not. There's also a like voodoo witch girl in this one where her whole thing is like diving deep, and like when she touches things, she senses like something was there, and that's how they use her. Again, there's the character that her sister died. There's the cliche ex-boyfriend who's just trying to win the girl back. And so there's a lot of these personality traits that don't go into a deeper story, which I would have preferred. They kind of just have that one defining trait, and then they just die 50 different times. Like, because this is essentially a Groundhog Day horror film. Everyone just keeps dying in loops, and so I feel like they could have built out these characters better. I know the game is like 20 hours long, but you have an hour 40 to like make us care about these characters, and I don't feel like they did anything other than maybe the younger sister trying to find where her sister went missing, but like that's one character out of the main 5. And so that was kind of disappointing to me. The other bad thing in this film for me, I thought they could have gone a really deep route with these characters and these friend groups by using the first death to set everything up. So like, for example, this isn't a spoiler, everyone dies, but everyone keeps coming back to life. I felt like at one point in the first death scene, characters that were supposed to be helping their friends take on this monster just kind of watched them die, and I thought, well, maybe they're gonna like have an argument on like, why did you let me die, type of thing. Like they'd start fighting each other and have like a disruptive or explosive friend group where they're all like, you didn't do anything to save me. But they just don't touch on that. Like there's people in their friend groups that they just kind of watch die, and then when they snap back from the first death, when they're still trying to figure everything out, it's just like, we're alive. And then another bad thing happens again. So it's like they could have had more interesting character dynamics, and or like, oh, you just sat in the corner last time and watched me die, I'm gonna watch you die, type of thing. I know it's kind of cliche. That's why I'm not a writer at all, but I feel like there was something interesting that could have been done there, and instead they kind of just shy away from that. And as the movie gets on, this whole dying thing where they die and come back starts getting repetitive, and they even like cut through half of it and don't even show us half of those times. So I just felt like that was something that was kind of like a missed opportunity, where they could have had some more interesting character dynamics, or even again character like personalities, but they just don't go that way. All right, so if we're talking about things that really annoyed me in this movie, the dialogue I was not a fan of at all. The games did a really great job just portraying a personality, a character, and actually wanting you to care for them. This dialogue is, you gotta go, you gotta run, you gotta move on, that type of thing. But they could have used that for something better with the characters' personalities or something, but they just kind of...
As a psych major, I don't think this is okay.
I wouldn't either. But they kind of go that way as well, and it was just kind of annoying. I wish they would have spent their time with the dialogue, actually building the characters up instead of saying the cliche, stupid, just, oh no, I wonder what's gonna happen next type of thing. So that was very disappointing to me. Another thing that really annoyed me was the scenes with the older sister. The way they cut the scenes in with her are just very forced in my opinion, and she's not in a bunch of them, but she is in the film, and it just feels like they didn't have a great time to explain how to put the older sister into the story very well. And so they just dropped it when one of the character dies, and that's it. And then it's like a breaking point for the characters where they keep dying, and then all of a sudden it's just flashback, and then all of a sudden you're back into it. Like, it just didn't feel cohesive at all. And so that was one thing that I was just like, that probably could have done better, or you could have explored that in a different route, but they didn't. But I'm not gonna be the one to like criticize that. I mean, I can't make a movie myself, so there's that. All right, so if you're a die-hard fan of the games, like myself, I love the games. There are a bunch of Easter eggs that you can watch around the whole film. Throughout the whole film, there's something that you can be like, oh, that's from this, or oh, that's a small detail that would only make sense if you've gone through this personal like way through the story. And so there's a lot of fun things that happen there, but there's also things in this game that just don't make sense. If you played the game, you know that there's a slasher in the game, and you know who it is. However, in this one, he's just basically a zombie, and it's not really the character that we know. And so that was just kind of annoying for me. And there's just small inconsistencies like this throughout the whole film that I was just like, oh, well, they could have probably done that better. Like, just actually relate it more to the games. But they never do, and so that was kind of disappointing. But again, if you are a diehard fan of the games, you'll have fun just picking out the smaller Easter eggs. But that was one thing that I was like, they probably could have done that better, or just like portrayed that better, or even left that out so that they could touch on it in a different movie or something. So, all right, the last negative for this movie I would have to say is, other than making cliche like actions where they say, don't go in the house, and then they go in the house, or don't let that thing in, and they let that in. There's a lot of just like things that are happening in this movie where people physically start to change, and it starts getting a little creepy with like body horror type of things. It's not very blatant. It's only a couple scenes in the film, so if you're nervous about that, don't worry about it. But people actually do start to like physically change, and at the very end of the film, they just kind of hand wave over it and they just let the movie end. But my whole time, I'm like, well, did they get cured? Did they not? What happened to them? And so they kind of just go off on their way, and I was like, that's it, I guess. So that was one thing that I was kind of disappointed on. But with that all being said, real quick, if you guys kind of like this review, I would love for you guys to join me in the comments down below, whether you guys want to talk about the Until Dawn games or the actual movie itself. I would love to have that conversation with you guys, because I love the whole story and the whole aspect of this idea of the games, movies, and so much more. Or if you have any other questions for me, whether it's Marvel or any other upcoming news, I'm going to be starting my news videos again next week. I apologize for all of that, but there's just been a lot of movies that I'm catching up on, but also just kind of taking some time because work has been busy for me. So I'm just trying to get as much as I can done with you guys, but also trying to stay afloat in other areas of my life. And so there is that. But with that, we're going to get into the final scorecard. All right, so when watching this film, I rank it on these 5 different things. I have plot, dialogue, action, suspense, and previous work. Plot right away, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. I think there's some cool aspects with the time loop thing, but after a while, it just kind of gets repetitive, and they don't do anything new or refreshing with it. And then the whole sister arc, I just really didn't even care for the whole like idea of the characters after a while. And so that was one thing that I was just kind of let down on, and so I gave it a 5 out of 10. The next thing is the dialogue. I would actually give the dialogue a 4 out of 10 here. I thought that there was going to be something pretty interesting about these characters based off of the games. However, they just kind of made them fall flat, and they didn't really elevate the characters. And honestly, I feel like they just hurt the characters more instead of actually helping them. So the dialogue, I gave it a 4 out of 10. For the action, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Like I said, I had a lot of fun with this film. I was very entertained. And honestly, this is one I would re-watch if I could. However, as a film as a whole, I just can't in good conscience give it more than a 8, 9, or 10. And I think the action of itself was more of the kills, and that's what I had more fun with. And so again, 7 out of 10. Suspense, I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10 for me. It didn't get up there because, again, I didn't really care for all of these characters as much, but I think it did a good job thinking, oh, who is going to get out, who's going to die, because they set up certain plot ideas where they say that someone has to die, and I think that was really interesting. And so I was wondering who that was gonna be. And so by the end, I was gonna say an 8 out of 10 for suspense. In previous work, this is David F. Sandberg, and for those of you who do not know, he directed Shazam, but also Annabelle Creation. 2 of those movies I actually kind of enjoy. He's also done one called Lights Out, which is another horror film. I've heard really good things about it. I haven't watched it myself, but based on previous work, I just gave it a 6 out of 10. This isn't anything great. I just kind of think that this was not a letdown, but for most people, I feel like everyone is going to be bad, and I had to keep that in mind and perspective because, again, this is my type of genre, this is my type of thing, and I enjoyed it, but I know other people will just kind of say this is not great, and so I gave it a 6 out of 10. All right, so this final review is where I think everyone would score this film if they actually saw it for themselves. So for casual fans, I actually gave it a 7.5 out of 10. I think you guys will have fun with it, and I don't think you guys will care too much about the characters, and I think you guys just have fun with what happens in the story and the Groundhog Days aspect of it all. For families, I'm going to give it a 0 out of 10. You should not see this with your family. There's too many exploding bodies, literally, and people's eyeballs getting ripped out of their heads. So this is just not a family film. But for genre fans, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. For people that have played the games or just kind of like this horror aspect, I give it a 6 out of 10. I think there's things that you can look forward to, but I also think there's going to be things that you're going to be really mad about. And so overall, I think you're going to be either disappointed or happy with it, and so I'm just gonna give you guys a 6 out of 10. For film buffs like myself, 5 out of 10. I had fun with it. Again, I really did, but as a film itself, it was not great. But for actual critics, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 10 because I don't think any critics, well, unless they're kind of going into this film to have enjoyment, which is what I did. I didn't think this was gonna be anything amazing, but I think critics were gonna rank this very low out of 4 out of 10. And now right here is where I usually tell you where you should skip, stream, or run to the theaters. And so this is gonna be no different this time. For casual fans, I say stream. For families, I say skip. If you're a genre fan though, like a video game fan, or you kind of like this idea, I say run to the theaters. I don't think it's that harmful. I think you'll be maybe slightly disappointed, but I had fun with it again. And then for film buffs and critics, if you really wanna watch it, I just say stream it. This isn't anything for you guys. But again, I had fun with it. I really did enjoy this film, but I know most people will not. And again, it's not a great movie by any means, but this is my type of genre, my type of thing. And so I was all for it. All right, like I said, that was just my review for the Until Dawn movie. I love the games. I somewhat enjoyed this movie. It was entertaining enough that I could just kind of watch it, and this is one I feel like I would turn on again just down the road, but I don't think many other people will have as much enjoyment as I had with it. So if you guys like this review, I'd love for you guys to go ahead and click the subscribe button, and also go ahead and click on one of my other videos and just have fun talking the movies with me down in the comments below. I respond to everyone, and so I'd love to hear your thoughts on either the games, the movies, or so much more. But with all that being said, I hope you guys have a good week, everyone, and stay safe out there.